Ready?
Mm-hmm.
We will start. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Before we get started, Pat, I'd like to mention something that struck me when we went to the last assembly meeting, and that was where Dick Anderson mentioned them having a moment of silence to think about the troops. We don't have to have a resolution to do that, but I'd like, I think that because it is a volunteer army and because a lot of people are not specifically let's say, exposed to the risk, I think that it might go out of people's minds. But I'd like to think that we would remember. So I'd like to suggest that we have a moment of silence to think about the troops at this time.
That's fine, and we will do that. Okay, so welcome to the June 10th meeting of the County Commissioners. And the first item on our agenda is an update on the Cape Light Compact and the Cape and Vineyard Electric Cooperative. And Maggie Downey, welcome.
Thank you.
Not that you're not always here, but for a different purpose today.
Thank you. I know that wasn't on here, but I might want to do public comment before.
Oh, yes. Public comment before we take up Maggie Downey, and thank you.
And welcome to Lou Cataldo. How are you?
Commissioners, I just wanted to...
And Lou, if you would just for our TV audience, if you would
we're on TV
state your name for the record.
Lou Cataldo, your county archivist, as well as bringing to your attention the annual. This is the 8th annual Woman of the Year Award, 4th of July. And last year we had 2 commissioners present and said a few words and so forth. This is a county-sponsored event, and I'm preparing, as we usually do, a program. This was last year's, and I've got probably in the next week or two, I'll put it together, and I'd like to, if it's possible, find who from the commissioner's office will be present, so I can put it into the program.
Do we know who the honoree is?
Alice George is working on that, and I think any day now we will know.
And which is, mention the date again?
Yes, July. The 4th of July.
4th of July.
And it started at 8:30 in the morning, thereabouts. And after that, of course, the village parade. And we have usually on the programs the Senator O'Leary and Representative Astis, and our keynote speaker this year is I have her name here. Here they are. I left my glasses. Oh yes, Nancy Reed. I don't know if you know her from Dennis. She'll be the keynote speaker.
What does Nancy Reed's background?
Say again, sir?
What is Nancy Reed's background so people will know?
Oh, Nancy Reed, she is well known. She's from Dennis, town of Dennis, and wife of Reverend Reed. And she has done quite a few things in the community, and that's about all I have now, but later on we'll have more details. The other thing that I'd like to bring the attention of the commissioners is that last year it has been brought to my attention that the podium was not didn't have enough volume in the system, the speaking system, and as a consequence I was told that a lot of people became disenchanted, couldn't hear, and just walked away. So I was wondering this year what we might have for a podium with a speaker so that people can hear.
May I suggest that we have staff look into that and test to make sure that with facilities, that the sound system is adequate for the need here?
I think it's something that the county needs anyway. If you have in other functions, I think it'd be nice to have a speaker a system that you can hear the speaker.
Right. Well, those are obviously important
I'll look into it.
important points, and Maggie will look into it. and We'll get back to you and
All
let
right.
you know.
And then, of course, the facilities usually are open, and so it's the holiday, I know, but I just thought I'd bring this to your attention.
Well,
And-
I can commit to you now that I will be present,
Oh,
and
good.
I'd be honored to be there.
All right.
And thank you for the invitation.
Very nice.
And I will plan as well.
Well, William, that's great, and you can let me know if,
And we'll let you know if she'll attend.
all right, then I'll pass this on to Alice George.
Great.
8:30, right?
Yeah, around 8:30.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Parade starts, I think, around 9:30 or so.
Yes.
We usually are not more than half an hour, 40 minutes or so.
Right. I've been to them before. They've been quite enlightening.
You know, and you realize that at the time we present the whoever is selected as the Woman of the Year, she has a maquette of Mercedes Warren, and well, anyway, that's about
That's
it.
good. Well, thank you very much.
Okay, thank you all.
Thanks, Lou.
All right.
While we're still in public comment, I might mention that the inauguration of the status of women's was it committee or conference will take place here in this building at 5 o'clock on Monday. The was it the 13th?
Yeah.
Is that
no,
the-
no, today's the 10th.
Let's see, that would be no. Actually, it would be.
No, it was June 15th.
Excuse me, June 15th.
June 15th.
Here in the Superior Courthouse.
At
So
5
if this goes out earlier,
Mhm.
that people are encouraged to come and to view this inaugural meeting, adding to the other conferences on the status of women throughout the Commonwealth.
Well, how nice of you to bring that up. No, thank you, Bill.
You're welcome.
Is there any other public comment? Not hearing any, then we'll move to Maggie's report on the Cape May Compact. Thank you.
A quick copy for all of you, just a brief update. It's been good morning. It's been a while since we've had the opportunity to update you on the Cape and Vineyard Electric Cooperative. And as you know, Barnstable County is a member, and your representative on the board of directors is Mark Zelensky. And I happen to, at this point in time, represent the Cape Light Compact on the cooperative. I just put together a very brief handout. The first talks about the mission statement, which, as you know, our primary purpose is to develop and own renewable energy generation facilities and to procure and sell long-term electric contracts.
Excuse me, Maggie, could you give a copy to Ed? Thank you. Thanks.
Again, we are working to collectively develop renewable energy projects financed through power purchase agreements with the towns, counties, and other members, and to minimize the production and operation costs and maximize the economies of scale on a regional basis, which, as we know, is what Barnstable County does best, and to participate in the Green Communities virtual net metering benefits. To date, and this is really the bulk of the update, as we presently have 8 members, which is an update from our last presentation. The members are Barnstable County, the town of Barnstable, Cape Light Compact, the town of Bourne, Brewster, Harwich, Dennis, and Tisbury. We have 10 towns that have pending memberships, meaning that they are town meeting voted to authorize their Board of Selectmen to negotiate joining the cooperative, and those members are Falmouth, Mashpee, Sandwich, Yarmouth, Eastham, Truro, Orleans, Provincetown, Aquina, and Edgartown. So I foresee over the next several months a series of towns taking this issue up and deciding one way or the other as to whether or not they will join the cooperative. The cooperative is organized. We have a board of directors, and unlike our traditional county government under cooperative statute, it's one member, one vote. And each member, the member being the unit of government, has a director. We have an executive committee with made up of 5. Right now, 3 permanent members. The permanent members being the town of Barnstable, the county, and the compact, and 2 members at large who happen to be the towns of Brewster and Harwich presently. And as you know, talk a little bit about the financial model for financing our renewable energy projects. Right now, we are looking towards accessing the MTC grants for community wind, just like the towns will. And our financing will be specifically from CREBs, which are Clean Renewable Energy Bonds, cooperatives are entitled to a third of the allocation, so we're giving priority funding for CREBs under under that statute. The clean renewable energy bonds have received an almost doubling of their allocation for this calendar year under the American Recovery and Reinvestment Act. So under the stimulus dollars, we're looking for even greater access to funding for our projects. We also will finance projects when CREBs are accessed through RUS, which is the Rural Utility Service. RUS is specifically their purpose is to finance electric generation projects for rural electric cooperatives. Their new focus and their priority is now renewable energy projects, so we are in the right place at the right time.
So Maggie, when you say that you're looking for the funding for projects, can you just give some examples of what those are?
Sure. The projects that we are working on right now with the towns of Brewster and Harwich on their land-based wind turbines. So, if the town decides that, again, going back to take it back several years, the benefits of the cooperative, if the town decides to do this on their own, like the town of Falmouth did, you have to issue general obligation bonds, and that debt is on your balance sheet, so to speak. So it just adds to your debt capacity. The cooperative is a separate, legally and distinct entity, and so when we build a project through the cooperative, it's not on the town's balance sheet.
Right. And that's very good.
Yes.
Actually, with the update on Falmouth, as you may know, that the Falmouth now receives stimulus money.
Mm-hmm.
So now Falmouth has to have a town meeting in order to, because the money was appropriated for the bonding of the project, and now the money can be appropriated for some other purpose, which is probably beneficial. But I think in the future, it behooves all the towns to consider the cooperative and the funding capacity that cooperative can offer the towns.
Yes.
If I may, I think the issue of exposure through bonding capacity is something that can't pass over lightly. And I wonder if people understand that while a town would borrow money, it does increase their ability to borrow more money if they successfully pay off the debt.
Right.
At the same time, during the period of time that they have borrowed the money, the responsibility is uniquely part of the town's obligation. And the benefit of what Maggie's saying is that we are spreading this obligation among all of the members of the cooperative, and that way it's minimizing the impact on a particular member of the co-op as far as moving forward in a project. And at the same time, because they're participating in the risk, they're also participating in the benefit that that is generated because of the development that the Cape and Vineyard Co-op is trying to put forth. Is that essentially what we're trying to do?
And the Cape Cod Times had a story not long ago about with the bonding, not the bonding capacity, but the bonding experience of many of the towns on the Cape, and it ranged anywhere from 2% to 10%. So some towns are really out there in terms of what they've bonded, and others have a very low limit of bonding. But you're right, it frees up the town to use their bonding capacity for other projects that are...
And these projects are very, very expensive. They're very capital intensive. The town of Harwich could be potentially financing, they have a $25 million budget, and they could be potentially borrowing over almost $7 million. So when you look at that relative to their total budget, it's a significant amount, almost 20 or 25%. So we talked about the projects. Again, what we're focusing on are the opportunities, which over the next 4 years, our goal is very ambitious, is to build 7 land-based wind turbines through the cooperative and through the participation of the member towns. Municipalities save money through virtual net metering. We, through the cooperative, offer lower financing costs, and we minimize, as you were just saying, the risk for municipalities through the co-op, because the cooperatives insulate their members from financial risk. The risk is not 100% on the town. The risk is spread amongst many different members. We also have economies of scale through the cooperative for O&M insurance. There will be master contracts which will reduce costs for each of those items as opposed to towns having to procure these individually, and will also minimize transaction costs, one entity doing the financings versus potentially up to 21. There are some risk stills because the regulations for net metering have not been promulgated. DPU is in the process of promulgating them, so we have some uncertainty still as to how to calculate the financials on these projects. And we are in the point now where we are being asked to deliver. So there is a risk that the co-op, when we want time to put our money where our mouth is and provide the services that are needed to move these projects forward. And the other risk is the town may choose to develop these independently and not through the cooperative for whatever reasons that they see fit. We, as I told some of the milestones, we have 8 members, 10 members pending. We've completed, 3 projects have completed their feasibility studies. We have one co-op project where we're 50% completed with the feasibility study, and projects are in transition in the 2 towns of Harwich and Brewster, and then we are just beginning dialogue with the town of Wellesley.
I think also that it would be useful for the viewers to know that the County of Barnstable, through the Cape Light Compact, made a sincere effort and invested some serious money in doing a risk assessment before we ever made a commitment to going forward with this. It was very important to the governing board of the Cape Light Compact and to the previous boards of commissioners that, however beneficial the appearance of this activity was, that we wanted to make sure, since we were involved with public money, that we were very careful that we did as much as possible to understand the nature of the risk that we were going forward and to make sure that it was at a manageable level. So this result here is very, is wonderful, because it shows that we are taking those steps that were suggested by that commitment that was made by Barnstable County, and which continues, I believe, with this Board of Commissioners.
That's it. Thank you very much.
That's it. Now, there have been some news stories lately about the sighting of wind turbines in the water, mm-hmm. or offshore as opposed to onshore, and that the cost is really much higher if it's offshore compared to onshore. And I guess if this actually comes about, and Cape Wind does in fact build their plant out in the waters, what effect would that have on what the towns are doing now in terms of their land-based turbines? None whatsoever.
No. Cape Wind is a private project, and they will need a power purchase agreement for the output of their energy. These projects that the towns are pursuing are to serve municipal load, so they're separate and distinct projects.
Not residential loads.
Well, 10% of the output does go to the Cape Light Compact from these projects to start to stabilize electric rates. But these are projects that primarily we're going, the energy, 90% of the output will be used to serve municipal load.
Okay.
It's very important to understand the difference between what people can know about the financing of the Cape and Islands Co-op versus the financing of Cape Wind. You will know what it costs to do what we're doing because it's public money. We have yet to find out what the investment strategy, what the potential, perhaps not who the investors are, but what their bottom line is, what their pro formas are. We don't know any of those things. And the other thing, this is just a personal thing on my part, is there are 351 towns within the Commonwealth of Massachusetts, all of which benefit from the taxes for real estate and personal property that the electric utilities pay. We do not anticipate receiving any of that money for this community, and yet we are, however beneficial and however a contribution to the reduction of a carbon footprint that is intended, we are not seeing any return to the 15 towns in Cape Cod because we're giving up the tangible benefit of a viewscape that's out, that's out in the Sound. If we were to see some, let's say, some offer of a contribution that would be a pilot payment in lieu of taxes, I think that would go a long way to helping all of us believe that there's some interest by this developer in the support of the total community.
Maggie, do we have any status report yet from the Secretary of Energy and Environmental Affairs on the green communities and having the Cape be considered as a region as opposed to the individual towns? I read something recently where Senator O'Leary is trying to really push that through.
They are still promulgating regulations. I had a meeting with the director of the Green Communities last week, and they have not issued any. They're still looking favorably towards a regional approach, but no decisions or regulations have been issued. I believe there's a meeting coming up this week. I saw it in the paper, but that Senator O'Leary will be speaking to a local group on the Green Communities. But no update.
No update. Okay. Well, there are a number of issues that are out there that,
And
that we
believe
have a
me,
stake in.
there's good, there's good on both sides. I'd like to see both sides, say, reduce what I would call the supporting exaggerated rhetoric and get down to talking in plain talk on these are the benefits, these are the risks, this is what people can depend upon going forward. And of course, the pictures that that the opponents of Cape Wind show a wind farm that looks like the one in Imperial Valley in California, and that's not true. There will be a separation, but at the same time, there's got to be some confidence that once the wind farm goes in, that if there's any problem with it, that in the time that it's out there, that there's some recovery that we can expect from from this private entity for to protect the public good.
Okay, thanks. We don't have another agenda item until 10:45, but we have commissioners' actions that we could take up. We have actually a total of 32, and
It's a busy day here at Commissionerville.
Yes, and I was going to suggest that we hold item 13.
Item 13 is the...
Item 13 is the
on
vote
the-
of the Cape Cod Economic Development Council.
Right.
That we just hold that until a later time.
Well, I'll move that we approve everything except item 13 until 10:45. Perhaps by then
Okay.
our chair will be
And
here.
I would second that. So all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. None opposed? The
We
motion
can start
carries.
signing.
Okay, thank you. Do you want to recess? I have some executive session material. We could go into executive session for personnel-related issues, or you can deal with that at the end of your meeting. That's
How
up to you.
long, I'm about to ask
How
how
long
long
would you
it will
think?
be.
5 minutes.
Okay, why don't
Oh.
we do that? What
It's up to you.
do you think?
All right, then a motion to go into executive session and return to open session.
I'll make that motion. And I guess.
Doherty, aye, and Flynn, aye. Okay, so we will just take a few minutes and do that.
Okay.